Greetings, everyone, with Train Tuesday. I'm so happy that you decided to join us here tonight. For you, those of you out there joining us live, welcome. We're glad to have you on board. And those for you that are watching on the pre-recorded broadcast, welcome. We hope you'll find the information that we have this evening beneficial to you and will help you on some pre-orders for the month of July. Before we get started, let's do what we always do. Let's do some quick shout-outs. I've got Zach, Eugene, Dale, Eugene, Stephen, Bradley, and Ibuprofen Dave, Roger. DG Model Works is here to join us. We've got Derek, Tim, the CSS Rail Fan, Calculated Snipe, SP Rock, Idaho Rail Fan. Looks like we're going to have a full house here tonight. We're going to be talking about Athearn GP40-2s HO scale, as well as some boxcars to add to your fleet. We're going to talk a little bit about these new models that will be under the Athearn line and what they mean for you. So if you're not one that wants to delve deep into the prototype and purchase the Genesis, we've got a economical multi-function locomotive here for you tonight, one that will allow you to build up your fleet and choose the decoder of your choice. So let's do one more round of shout outs before we get started. I see All Ohio Rail Fan, Michael, Brian Stackpole, F40M District Photography. We have Lauren all the way from Canada. Good evening, Lauren. Glad you could join us. We have Matt. We have Donnie, Late Night Model Railroad is here, and Jason coming from our neighbor, Indiana, tonight. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight on Train Tuesday. And like we always do, we'll talk about the first segment first. We'll look at any questions that you might have on the GP40s. And then we'll go into the boxcars that we're going to talk about tonight. And then if we have a chance, we will have a period where we can answer your questions live on Train Tuesday. So let's get started talking about the GP40-2s. Now, a couple of things I want to let you guys know. These are under the Athearn line. Now, what does that mean exactly? Genesis is prototype to the road number. That means that there may be times that we introduce a model that has seen many changes in its lifespan and has particular details that are specific just for that road number. With Athearn, we are offering a locomotive that is nicely detailed, nicely equipped, but basically represents a version of part of the fleet, if you will. Now, this allows you guys out there to build up your fleet rather easily by picking up one or two locomotives. And the neat thing about these is not only are they going to become very nicely detailed, specific for their road, but these are all sound equipped, or sound ready, I should say, with the speakers already installed and the 21-pin standard for you to install the decoder of your choice. Now let's talk a little bit about the prototype. The EMD GP series locomotive became some of the most successful designs of the age. Produced from the 1970s all the way into the mid-1980s, the GP40-2 was quickly found in many different tasks of the railroad. From switching to pulling high-priority freight trains across the country, these versatile locomotives brought the goods to North America. Many of these locomotives are now being rebuilt and ecologically sound emissions control for higher population centers. Therefore, a new era emerges as technology meets the proven reliability of these EMD products. Yet really, the GP40-2 series, an extremely popular model. EMD tried to capture the same success with this model with later models, such as the GP50, but it just never really caught on like the 40-2s. And they are still, in many cases, somewhere earning their keep across Canada, the United States, and even into Mexico. So the first ones we're going to talk about here today are the GP40-2s for the CP. Now, one of the things I want to let you know is we do take a few liberties in the Athearn line. These are stand-in representations. They are not spot on to the actual prototype. Now, this allows you to purchase the locomotives as they are, but if you are a prototype modeler, we've given you the basis to start to make it even more prototypical. But this is a great way for the intermediate modelers that want to build up their fleet to pick up a reasonably priced locomotive that is sound ready with the decoder of their choice, or they can simply run them as DC. Now, these represent in 1990s former Milwaukee Road GP40s that were painted in CP Rail's later scheme. You'll notice there is no multi-mark on the hood. Now, some of the features or details that we are including with both this unit here, which is 4611, as well as 4617. Common features for this will be chicken wire grills, non-dynamic brake hatch. This will also include forward and reverse ditch lights. With the decoder of your choice, you can definitely have lighting functions for both forward and reverse ditch lights. Large EMD front plow, short fuel tank, and the P3 horn. Coming up next, we wanted to offer the CSX. We're offering two numbers here, CSX 6214 as well as 6942. Now, these represent CSX locomotives as they appeared in the 1990s. These are former Western Maryland or Chessie units, and they were painted in CSX's YN2 scheme sometime in the 1990s. Now, they did receive ditch lights soon after, but this one, both CSX units will feature forward-only ditch lights, which was pretty common actually in the 90s. It's not been until just recently that you've seen ditch lights on both the front and the rear. This is also going to have the corrugated grills, dynamic brakes, the large fuel tank, and this both will feature the K5 horn. Now, for you guys that are into the BNSF like myself, we are offering 3001 as well as 3005. Really interesting history on these guys. These locomotives started life as CB&Q GP40s. Throughout the years, they were rebuilt. When they became Burlington Northern, they were rebuilt by Morrison Knudsen. They were GP40Ms. And then more recently, into the 2010s, they were designated by BNSF as GP40-2s. Now, that's a railroad designation, not our designation. They were quickly painted in this switcher paint scheme. And, really nice paint scheme. A lot of guys like the Heritage 1. This has the Heritage 1 markings with the dark green being replaced with black. And, of course, the newer 2005 logo. Now, what this will have for details will be the chicken wire grills, dynamic brakes. This one will feature both front and rear ditch lights, and a small EMD front plow. So for you guys that are modeling the BNSF anywhere between 2010 on up, these are perfect for your industrial centers or your branch line service, or even just a small yard. Now, the Amtrak, just because it's a one-dimensional drawing, sometimes it's hard to capture the 3D look that our illustrators are trying to capture. There was a little bit of confusion. A lot of people thought these were F40PHs, and they aren't. They do share a common paint scheme. These are based on 1990s, early 1990s, and again, these are standard representations of former New York Central GP40s. These units were active on Amtrak in the 1990s. They were lacking the HEP generation, and they usually ran in a multiple with F40PH to provide HEP for the train. So they were kind of used for that purpose, head-end operating power. And these are going to include the chicken wire grills, dynamic brakes. And again, once you get your decoder in there, you have the option to have the operating dual strobes, which Amtrak was known for at the time, 5-chime horn, and a small EMD front plow. Now we're offering those also in 2 road numbers, as you can see here. Last but not least, Norfolk Southern continues to be a very strong seller for us. So we didn't want to disappoint our Norfolk Southern fans. If you're a Conrail fan, you might want to cover your ears real quick. These are based on late 2000s. They're equipped with front and rear ditch lights, and these GP40-2s became Norfolk Southern property when they acquired 58% of Conrail in 1999. So these are former Conrail GP40-2s. They've been completely repainted. They are going to feature corrugated grills, dynamic brakes, a Leslie 3-chime horn, front and rear ditch lights, and a small EMD plow. 2 numbers for that. So let's talk a little bit more about what we're doing with these locomotives as far as features. All of these are going to feature see-through cabin windows. So you're going to have the opportunity, if you want to detail the cab somewhat. You're going to have factory installed silicone handrails. Those are the same handrails that we use throughout our line. These are nice because they're not easily breakable. They don't bend like the old metal ones do, so they're not quite as fragile. Illuminated front and rear headlights in all cases. Depending on the locomotive that you choose, you're going to have both front and rear operating ditch lights. Now, again, that is based on the prototype. So like the CSX, you're only going to have front ditch lights. Based on the prototype, it's going to come with either corrugated or chicken wire grills. And there's 2 fuel tanks that we're offering, again, based on the prototype, either a 2,600 or a 3,600 gallon fuel tank. Now, for those that have small layouts, you may be wondering, what is the recommended radius on these? Recommended radius on these 4-axle Jeeps is 22 inches. You can run them on a minimum of 18, but they look so much better on a 22-inch radius. So that is the GP40-2s. These are new for us because we've upgraded these to have much more detail, and they're sound ready to go right out of the box. You can put the decoder of your choice in here. We're just selling these as DCC ready. So we will not be offering these anyway except for DCC ready. We did that because a lot of you guys were requesting power that you could put your own decoder in. We realize there's a lot of options out there for decoders. So we wanted to give this a try. But while we were at it, since most of you guys are running with sound, we wanted to offer something with sound options for you. So with that, let's step back a little bit and see what kind of questions we might have out there. I'm going to look at your comments here briefly and see what kind of comments or questions you might have. I'm going to scroll back. Reading area railfan says that Amtrak one is hot. I saw one about 8 years ago like this one in Philly. Yeah, they're still kicking around a little bit. That's one I haven't seen in a while, but they're still out there. Let's see. Why don't the GP40 class units come sound equipped? Ready? Read chat live. Well, a couple of things there, Lewis. When I'm doing the screens, I will not always see your comments. So keep that in mind. If you do have questions, try to go in between the segments. This is something new that we've done at Athearn. We wanted to offer the Athearn locomotive sound ready, decoder ready. Now, we already offer many of our locomotives either as DCC Tsunami equipped or DC for you to install the decoder of your choice. But with these, we wanted to make a economical Jeep 40-2 for you that's going to have the details that you're looking for that are specific for the roads that we mentioned here, but also with the option to install the decoder of your choice. And since it is a 21-pin NEM connector, it's super simple. And then you can assign your lighting features, your sound features as you desire. Let me see what else we've got. Another one from Reading wants to know, why did we take Ready to Roll off from it? What series is it? Well, the series is easy. It's Athearn. Athearn is the intermediate brand. It is the largest brand that we have under the Athearn umbrella. Athearn does both HO and N scale. They are all nicely detailed, and typically these are the locomotives that you're going to buy, or the freight cars that you're going to buy, that's going to build your fleet. Genesis in both HO and N, they are the upper echelon as far as prototype typical accuracy and detail. And Roundhouse is geared towards our entry-level rail fans. So Athearn is the intermediate or the everybody brand. We try to feature everything under the Athearn umbrella for you guys. And since these are Athearn HO, they're going to have the details that are specific for the road, but we're going to give you options like sound ready. The speakers are already installed. You just need to install the decoder of your choice. Or if you're running DC, you can strictly run it DC as well. Also, we got rid of the ready to roll because it didn't quite fit under the Athearn line, and it's kind of redundant since we don't make kits anymore. Everything is, if you think about it, is ready to roll. All right, let's take another question here. No G&W paint jobs, not in this release, not this time, Steve. Eugene is happy about the Norfolk Southern. Yeah, like I said, Norfolk Southern continues to be a strong seller. See-through cab, that basically means that all the window glazing is clear, of course. You're not going to have an interior like the Genesis models, but I have seen some enterprising folks out there do such details in scratch building. We're basically giving you something that you can take it as far as you like. We do realize that there are a lot of modelers out there that like to add to their models, and this is a great stand-in representation for the GP40-2, depending on which line you choose. And you can be fully content in running it as is out of the package, or you can add to it based on prototype pictures you may have the actual unit. And of course, customization is always encouraged. Let's see, I'm going to look for some other good questions. Now, as I'm going through these questions, so one of the things I want to mention while I'm going through here, a lot of comments, a lot of questions asking for lines that we did not do this time. So if you see something that you like, that's great. We want you to go ahead and pre-order. You have until the end of the month, which is the 29th, to pre-order anything that we've talked about thus far. But if there's something that you haven't seen that you would like us to produce, you can go and email us directly. It goes right to our product development at Athearn Product Suggestions at athearn.com. And for the full address, go to athearn.com, go to the Contact Us page, and you'll see the email there. Now, like I said, these do go directly to development, but don't expect an answer. This is basically a collection point. I've talked to some of you guys on social media, and you're upset that somebody hasn't returned a call or an email. While all of us would enjoy talking with you, unfortunately, our developers would not get as far as they could if they're talking to you. Now, that being said, if they do see something that looks like they're going to be using in the future and you have information about it, they may reach out to you. But try to keep in mind our developers are extremely busy trying to get the latest and greatest to you. All right, one more question on the 40-2s, and then we will get going. Well, Kevin, I've got an idea for you. One of the things you can do, there's plenty of guys, if you do a search, Detail Associates, of course, is one of those companies you can go by. But I've seen a lot of guys actually scratch build their interiors with just evergreen styrene. It can be done, especially in HO. One of the modelers that has done a lot of scratch building is Boomer Diorama. You can look him up here on YouTube. He is an incredibly talented modeler, and he's done a lot of stuff with styrene. So if you're somewhat antsy about doing something like that, check out his channel first. He takes all the guesswork out of it, and you could be surprised how easily you can make a detailed interior for one of these with just some styrene. Okay, let's see. All right, so we're going to go on to the next subject. We're going to start talking some boxcars. Now, these are the 50-foot high cube double plug door boxcars. And these are, we've tried to get roads that are for a variety of eras. We've got everything from the 2000s all the way back to the 1970s. So depending on what era you're modeling, one or more of these boxcars will probably work for you. We're offering these in multiple road numbers. I'm just showing you one example each. You can go to our website, athearn.com, and select the new releases. Scroll down until you see the PDF listed there for the Athearn 50-foot high cube double plug door boxcars. And you can also see the actual listing online. First one that we have here, this is a 1990s. This is a Union Pacific 3001-105. This is a 1990s car. We had to do the Santa Fe. Santa Fe continues to be extremely popular, especially the 1980s version that we have here. Santa Fe 151718, one of multiple road numbers we are offering. Again, this is a 1980s car. So if you're modeling Santa Fe in the 1980s or any of the connecting railroads to Santa Fe, this will be a must-buy for you. Now, I've heard it many times, Conrail. You guys want Conrail. Well, we've offered some Conrail for you here. This is 2000s Conrail. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, wait a minute, Conrail was technically gone by 1999. Well, not quite. Conrail actually still does exist. Not what it was, of course. But as far as the freight cars, yes, they did get divvied up between CSX and Norfolk Southern. But a lot of them soldiered on into the 2000s pretty much unmarked by either of the new owners, much like you see here. So we wanted to offer this. This is great for you guys that are modeling either one of those railroads or any East Coast railroad for that matter, and want something kind of like a legacy, if you will. We're offering this car here based on prototype information that we found from the 2000s. Now, speaking of Conrail and how it's a fallen flag, here's the fallen flag it replaced in the 70s, the Penn Central. For you guys that are modeling the 1970s, the Penn Central is a great car to pick up. Certainly one of the more colorful cars of its time, with that jade green that they selected. You can see on the ends too, since these are a high cube boxcar, they've got the extended height paint on both ends of the boxcar, both the A and the B ends. Again, this is a 1970s. It'll include the ACI panel like you see here. And if you're modeling the Penn Central, I probably will be willing to guess that yours will not stay as clean as this for very long. BC Rail is one that we've been getting a lot of requests for lately. This is a BC Rail boxcar 100427 based on a 2000s on up paint scheme. This will be perfect for you guys that are modeling just north of our border here in the States. Of course, they did wander down. We've got plenty of CN and CP in the United States now, so it's not unusual to see one of these, albeit somewhat a little bit more faded, maybe a little bit more weathered than this representation here. But if you're modeling the 2000s, this would be a great one to add to your collection. And then finally, more Norfolk Southern. Now this one here, wanted to let you know, this is more of a 2000s paint scheme. You also know this is one that you could use not just in standard freight, but you see the MW. Now, that is perfect for any type of operations. These are a lot of guys that take a maintenance away type cars, whether it be box cars or converted passenger cars, and actually throwing them into their operations. And it throws a monkey wrench, but in a good way with the operations. So consider that with this Norfolk Southern car. Now, quickly, here are some of the features that we're going to add to these cars. Of course, the brake wheel is separately applied. Of course, you're going to have brake system details on the underbody of the car. The machine metal wheels that we're offering, they run on all types of HO scale track. Of course, they're weighted for the optimum performance based on the NMRA standards. Of course, body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers. But here's the best part about these. They are highly detailed injection molded bodies. These are based on the prototype. Each time we come out with a new set of roads for these, our developers look at the molds, and they've been working hard on updating those molds, trying to get them sharper looking, trying to get them more detailed than the last run. And these are going to be no exception to that. They're also painted and printed for realistic decoration. And what that basically means is, based on prototype photos that the developer and the researcher have found, that's what we're applying here. So the ACI labels, like on the Penn Central car, your model will have that as well. Now, these run on an 18-inch radius, so most HO scale modelers won't have any problem running these on their home layout, a club layout, or even a modular layout. They'll run on all of those just fine. So there's our high cube double door plug box cars. Again, you have got until Friday, July 29th to place your pre-orders. Anything that we've talked about in the previous Train Tuesdays, and of course today, you're going to want to get down to your hobby shop and pre-order those. Now, let's see. I'm going to do a few questions here before I let you guys get back to your modeling. Stephen Wagner's got a great little bit of history for you guys. Very interested in that UP used such an old Herald on boxcars built in the 90s. Yeah, that is kind of curious. Note that on the PC's Deepwater Green shown on the PDF was not the same as New York Central Century Jade Green. That is absolutely correct. In the 1960s, and New York Central did experiment with a very bright jade green. They painted boxcars this color. I think they painted some other equipment that color as well, and it's a very bright jade. By the time Penn Central came, it's a much more subdued green, so he's absolutely right. They are not the same colors. The Penn Central was a little bit dirtier jade green, a little bit darker. Let's see what other questions we have here. No, these are not roundhouse type cars. These are Athearn. So they're going to be a little bit more detailed than what you'd see with a roundhouse. And that's including in the painting and the printing. All Ohio Rail Fan says the DCC Sound Ready concept is great for the GP40s. I would like to see it in some other intermediate level locomotives as well. It's something that we're tossing around, and thank you for your comment. We hope that this is something that does work for you guys. We have had a lot of requests for it, so that's why we're doing it. We're specifically staying within the Athearn line for this, so keep posted. Stay tuned. We'll be doing some more of these in the future. Dale's got an interesting question talking about both Genesis and Athearn. He said, Jim, will all Genesis and Athearn locos non-DCC equipped be sound ready? So no. Currently, Genesis locomotives, you can order them DCC with the Tsunami 2 sound system in them, or you can order them DC, or what we like to call DCC ready. That being said, currently the Genesis DC locomotives that are DCC ready do not have speakers installed in them. This is brand new for us here at Athearn. The Athearn GP40-2s, these are going to be sound ready, meaning that the speakers are installed. So that's just an Athearn exclusive right now. If we get enough requests, we might think about changing that. But for right now, Genesis locomotives will either be DC or DCC with Tsunami. Good question, though. Eugene, I see your question. I think you probably like Alaska. Best place for that is our product suggestion email that we talked about earlier in the show. Let our guys know, and I'm sure we've got something in the works down the road for you Alaska fans. Let's see, one more question. HO Scale Rail fan, we'll finish with your question here. I'm glad to see these made. We needed Amtrak and Norfolk Southern GP40-2s for a while. Norfolk Southern number 3044 is a common sight around the Allentown area near me. Will they have separate windshield wipers and MU hoses? So they're going to be moderately detailed. Those are some of the items that will be included. They're not going to be as detailed as a Genesis locomotive, but that gives you the ability to make it your own. We realize there's still guys out there that like to detail their locomotives, and we may offer a Norfolk Southern that is not a road number that you want. Take a look on this YouTube channel here, and we've got a really neat tutorial on how you can change the numbers on any freight car or locomotive. And this being the case, since we're trying to offer these at an economical price point, you can definitely pick these up, change the road numbers to your liking, and base it on an actual prototype that's running in your hometown. All right, so before I leave you here tonight, there's one more thing I wanted to talk to you about, and we've got some news here. So I wanted to make you guys aware of a survey that we've got going out right now. That survey is for an upcoming release of the Athearn Genesis GP7s. Now, occasionally we get a lot of requests for specific railroads, and occasionally we want to know what you guys want. After all, this isn't my hobby company. It's not the developer's hobby company. It's your company. We want to know what you guys want. So what we've done is we sent out a survey. If you're on Facebook, take a look at our page. If you're not a fan of the Facebook page, go ahead and give us a like and look for that survey. We have that survey out for about a week, and we want to know what railroad names you would like to see on an upcoming release of the GP7. Now, right now, I can tell you, you Rock Island fans are really in the lead. Rock Island is one of the most requested roads for the GP7, followed by the Union Pacific branch line locomotives. That's coming in a close second right now. And believe it or not, rebuilt Boston and Maine GP7s are on the list, as well as some other neat locomotives. I saw somebody asking for MKT earlier. Well, here's your chance. MKT is one of the roads listed in that survey. So be sure to check out that survey. Let us know what you want, and we will be showing that GP7 probably before the end of the year. And who knows, we might pick the road name that you voted for. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight here on Train Tuesday. I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling, and above all, until next time, everybody, high greens. Good night, everyone.